In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make this little watermelon cat. He's got a green top with a little bit of color change and then the same on his tail. So let's get started with making him, and I'm going to show you all the materials that you'll need to make your little watermelon cat. So here are the four colors I used. I've got a regular green, a little bit darker green, and then a pink color that kind of works along with the color of a watermelon, and then just a little bit of black. You can just use some scrap black. That's just going to be for the nose whiskers and the little spots that are to look like seeds. The rest of the tools that I'm using is a 3.25 millimeter crochet hook, a pair of scissors, yarn needle, some safety eyes. I go with some bigger ones just because I like the look of the way the bigger eyes are on the little cat. You can use whatever size you'd like. I've got a stitch marker, and lastly just some polyfill. So I'm going to be starting off with the lighter of the two green yarns, and as you'll notice with this, the color changes are about every 3 rows. So we're going to do 3 rows in the lighter green, and then we're going to do 2 rows in the darker, 3 rows in the lighter green, and then 1 row in the darker before we switch to the pink. And I'll walk you through all the steps of when you go ahead and do those color changes, but I just wanted to let you be aware about how often we're going to be switching colors. So we're going to start our head with the lighter of the green yarn. The head and body are all one piece, so we'll start with the green and work our way down. We're going to start off with our magic ring, and I'll just do mine real slowly so you can see how I do my version of it. And now we're going to go ahead and place 6 single crochet into our magic ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now I'm just going to pull this closed, not real tight. We can always tighten it up after our next round. But now we have our first round done, and it is 6 single crochet into our magic ring. Next we're going to do an increase round in round 2 from 6 single crochet to 12. We're starting round 2, and we're going to be increasing to 12 single crochet. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase in each of the 6 stitches. So we're going to place 2 single crochet in each stitch. And I'm also going to just kind of crochet over my tail, try to get that out of the way as well. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we'll pop our stitch marker out, 11, and 12. And now that we've got our increase done, I'm going to pull my tail a little tighter just to close up that gap. And there we go. So we have completed round 2 that has 12 single crochet, and we're going to be doing an increase in our next round, and at the very end of that round we're going to be getting ready for a color change to the darker green. We are on to round 3, and we're going to be increasing to 18 stitches. And how we're going to do that is in our first stitch we're going to do an increase, and then in the second stitch a single crochet. So we're going to do an increase followed by a single crochet, and again that's an increase and a single crochet. And I'm going to stop here in just a moment and get my yarn ready for my color change. In fact, I'm going to stop about 4 stitches away. I'm going to just bring in my dark green and just kind of lay that over, and I'm just going to kind of crochet over it, and then at the very end I'll show you how I change my colors. And you can change however you'd like. This is just how I do it. But I'm going to do my increase, a single crochet, and increase, and then I'm going to take out my stitch marker, and in this last stitch where I'm going to do a single crochet, I'm going to go in, I'm going to pull the lighter of the 2 greens through, and then I'm going to finish the stitch off with my dark green. And now it is ready to start the next round with the dark green color. And so I'll just get my stitch marker popped back in, and then what we'll do is we will go on to round 4, where we are going to increase to 24 stitches with our dark green. So I am ready to start round 4 with my dark green. I am going to leave the lighter green just attached and just let it hang there. And then after we complete 2 rows with the dark green, we'll just pick up with the lighter green again. But let's start off with round 4, and we're going to increase to 24 stitches. And how we're going to do that is we're going to increase in our first stitch, and then a single crochet in the next stitch, and then a single crochet in the stitch after that. So again, we're going to increase, followed by a single crochet and a single crochet. And I think I'm just going to toss my tail up over here and just kind of crochet over that for a little bit. So once again, we're going to do an increase, single crochet, and a single crochet. And it's just that pattern all the way to the end. Got our increase, 1, 2, and then an increase. Whoops, kind of slipped right off there. There we go. So we've got our increase, and then 1 and 2, and then our final increase for row 4, 1 single crochet, and pop out the stitch marker, and our second crochet, single crochet. And so that completes round 4, where we're up to 24 stitches. We're going to stick with our dark green yarn for round 5, where we're going to increase up to 30 stitches, and then we'll start working at the end of round 5 on our color change back to light green. We're on to round 5, where we're going to increase up to 30 stitches. We still got our light green yarn just hanging here, and we'll be ready for this at the end of this round. But let's start off with how we're going to increase. So we're going to put a increase into the first stitch, and then we're going to follow that by 3 single crochets. Okay, and so we will do an increase, and then 1, 2, and 3. Once again, that is our increase, and then we've got 1, 2, and 3. And that is our pattern all the way around. Increase. And the one thing is, we don't really have to worry about placing, the yarn and prepping it for the color change because it's already attached. So we'll just grab it up on our last stitch. So we've got our increase, And that's 1, 2, and 3. And we've got our final increase for round 5. So that's our increase, followed by 1, 2. We will pop out our stitch marker, and then again I will grab the dark green and instead pull the, whoops, let me grab everything all together, and pull the light green through. And that will be where we'll start onto round 6, where we'll increase to 36 stitches, and we'll be doing that with our lighter green color. So we are ready for round 36 with our lighter green yarn. We still have our darker green yarn just hanging here, and that's fine because we're going to need it after a few rows. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do an increase from 30 stitches to 36. And our pattern for that is to do an increase in our first stitch, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochets after our increase. So again, that's an increase followed by 1, 2, 3, 4 single crochet, and that's our pattern all the way around. And so increase 1, 2, 3, and 4, and increase followed by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting towards the end. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're on our final increase. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have got our 6th row complete, and we're up to 36 stitches. Now on row 7, we're just going to go ahead and single crochet once, or let me say that again. We're going to single crochet one single crochet in each of our stitches. So we've got 36 stitches, and we'll have 36 stitches at the end of the next round for round 7. We're on round 7, and what we're going to do is just place 1 single crochet in each stitch. So go ahead and start single crocheting 1 in each stitch, and then when you're at the end of round 7, we will meet back up and I'll let you know what's going on in round 8. We've completed round 7 where we did a single crochet in each of the stitches, and now what we're going to do is we're going to start round 8, and what that is just a single crochet in each of the stitches like round 7, but we're going to be doing a color change at the very end. And so for those of you that want to watch me do the color change one more time, we can stop about 2 stitches from the end of row 8, and then I will do that color change slowly again for you. Otherwise, if you want to do your color change your way, you can just stop at the end of round 8 and just be ready to start with the dark green to begin round 9. So let's meet up when we're 2 stitches from the end of round 8. I'm 2 stitches away from the end of round 8, and so I'm going to do a single crochet in that second stitch from the end, and then what I'm going to do is I'll show it one more time. We're just going to place our hook into that stitch, pull through the light green and then finish the stitch by pulling through, oh my goodness, with the dark green. And that gets us ready for round 9. And what we're going to do is we are going to single crochet 1 in each stitch with the dark green. But I'm going to be stopping a little bit beforehand to get the pink ready to get it for that color change. So we'll just work through round 9 together. And so I am going to crochet over the tail or the rest of the light green. In fact, what I'm going to do is, because we are now done with the light green, I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off and then just crochet over the tail of it, because we won't be needing that one any longer. So let's just pop our stitch marker in, and I'll crochet over the light green tail, and it's just 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. And now we're just doing that with the dark green color. And just get that tail as much as I can. There we go. And so we'll just keep on going around, and then I'll stop about 4 stitches and start getting that pink ready. And then the nice thing is, once we get the pink, then that is the color we're going to use for the remaining part of the head and body. So other than the ears and tail, which are not as much of a pain for color changes, we're done here, and it's gonna just be easy with the pink. I tried to make the color changes as easy as possible, but I know that they can still be frustrating at times. So we're coming around the home stretch, and just a few more stitches and I'll start getting the pink ready. Okay, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 2 more stitches, and then what I'll do is I will grab my pink, and I'll just do what I did the last time, since this one's not just hanging on there attached. I'll just kind of lay it across, and then I will just single crochet over it just to kind of secure it in place. And again, if you have a better, easier color change way, definitely do whatever works best for you. So I'll pop my stitch marker out and then just do the color changes I've been doing. I'll go through, grab up the dark green, and then, whoops, where's my, there we go, and pull through with the pink, and then that's what we're all set with. And then for our next rounds, we'll be just going through rounds 10 through 12, so 3 rounds in the pink color. Okay, we've survived those color changes, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to cut off the dark green, because we are done with that for now. And then what we're going to do is we are just going to single crochet, and I'm going to do that over the tail of the dark green, and single crochet 1 in each stitch. So we'll have 36 stitches at the end of each round still, but we're going to just single crochet 1 in each stitch for the next 3 rounds. So I'll just get started with you, and so it's just going to be kind of a easy time throughout this pattern right now, because it's just 3 rounds of single crochet. So what we'll do is we will meet up at the end of round 12, and we will start on round 13 together. So we've completed rounds 10 through 12 in our pink color, and we're getting ready to start round 13, which is going to be one of the first of our decrease rounds. And so let me show you how I go ahead and do my decrease round. I do the invisible decrease. So I go ahead and I place my hook under the front loop of the first stitch, under the front loop of the second stitch. I pull through those 2 loops, and then I pull through the 2 remaining loops. And we're going to follow that by 4 single crochet stitches. Okay. So we'll go ahead and I'll show that again. I go under the front loop of the first stitch, the front loop of the second, pull through, and then pull through again. And then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. We do our decrease, followed by 4 single crochet. There's 2, 3, 4. Front loop, pull through again, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. About halfway through. Decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, and looks like our final decrease for round 13, and there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we are now down to 30 stitches, and in our next round, which is round 14, we're going to decrease down to 24. We are on to round 14, and we're going to decrease down to 24 stitches, and we have 30, and then we'll decrease down to 24. So our pattern will be to do our decrease, and then we're going to follow that by single crocheting 1 in the next 3 stitches. Kind of got my fingers all tangled up in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that pattern again. We've got our decrease, and then 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and just a couple more times. Decrease, 1, 2, 3, final decrease for round 14, 1, 2, and 3. All right, we are doing great. We are down to 24 stitches on row 14, and what we're going to do next is we're going to get our safety eyes put in. We're ready to put in our safety eyes, and I wanted to show you where I put in mine. So right here, you're going to see the first row of pink, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3. So I placed my eyes between rows 2 and 3 of the pink, and they're about 8 stitches apart. So I'm going to grab my kitty head, And then we'll go 1, 2, 3. And so I'm going to place the first one right there. And I wish I knew the size of my safety eyes. I get them from Amazon and it's really cheap, but unfortunately they never seem to want to put the sizes on the bags that they send them in. But I like them, so I keep ordering the same ones. So we're going to do, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's where I'm going to put my second one. So they're 8 stitches apart. Let's just kind of give that a look. And I think that looks pretty good. So we'll stick with that. And again, it's wherever your preference is with your kitty. You just place it wherever works best for you. I'm going to go in about 2 clicks on the back of my safety eyes. And there we go. We've got the safety eyes in, and we're going to go ahead and start on row 15, where we're going to decrease from 24 stitches down to 18. We are on to round 15, where we're going to decrease down to 18 stitches, and we're doing so well, so let's just keep going. And our decrease round will be a pattern of starting with our decrease, and that'll be followed by 2 single crochet. That'll get us from 24 stitches down to 18. There we go. So we've decreased, and then we're following it up with 2 single crochet. And I like decrease rounds because all of a sudden everything just starts going so much faster. So there's the decrease, 1, 2, and invisible decrease, 1, 2, whoops, there we go, got our decrease, 1, 2, and here we go with our final decrease, and then 1 and 2. Okay, so let's go ahead, and now that we're down to 18 stitches, let's put some stuffing in here so we got a little something to hang on to. And then what we'll do is once we get our stuffing in, we'll be ready for round 16. And that'll be an increase round in the front loops only, but I'll go through all that with you. But first, let's get some stuffing in. So I'm placing my stuffing in really to make sure, and really wanting to make sure I'm getting in between the safety eyes. So let's just keep getting this stuffed until we have something to basically hold on to that's got a little, you know, gets it rounded out. Now we don't have to worry about stuffing this thing completely just yet because we are going to be stuffing as we go as well. But this just gets us a good start and gives it a little more substance. So I didn't fill it up too much because the more you fill it up, the more those little fibers like to stick up and then get caught in your stitches as you're going around. But just get it something so you have something to hang on to, and we'll go ahead and start on round 16. Round 16 is our final increase round for the body, but what we're going to do is we're going to increase in just the front loops only. And we're going to increase from 18 stitches up to 27. And our pattern for that will be to in the front loops only. So just slide your hook right under that first loop on your stitch. We're going to increase. And then in the next one, front loop only, we're going to do a single crochet. And that is our pattern all the way around. Just make sure you're sticking with that front loop only. It's really easy out of habit to start going into both loops, but in the front loop only, we're going to just do an increase, and that'll be followed by a single crochet. And again, that'll get us from 18 stitches up to 27. So make sure I got that. So this is our increase, followed by a single crochet, increase, and there you go, single crochet. Okay, and I just confused myself. There's my increase, single crochet, increase. Can't believe how something as simple as this pattern, and I can lose track of where I am in just two different stitches, or two different types of crocheting into the stitches. As what I'm saying is, it's a simple pattern, and I got confused already. Okay, so we've got our increase. Okay, single crochet, increase, and then our final single crochet. And then once you're looking down into the head, you can see this little lip or little ridge going around for where you were just in the front loops only and left the back loop untouched. So there we go. We have completed round 16, where we did an increase from 18 stitches to 27 in the front loop only. And then we're going to do rows 17 through 21, and that is just a single crochet in both loops all the way around for 5 rows. We're ready to start rows 17 through 21, and now we are working through both loops on, so just a regular single crochet like normal, and we're just going to go through and single crochet 1 in each stitch. And again, we're going to do that for 5 rows. And then I'll have you meet back up with me after the end of row 21, and then we'll start working on our decreases to finish up the body. And we'll start adding stuffing as we go to try to fill them all up. And so if you got some good music to turn on or a YouTube video you want to watch, this would be a great time to turn that on and just kind of go right through those next 5 rows, and I'll meet back up with you at the end of round 21. So we've made it to the end of round 21, and what we're going to do is use this time to add some more stuffing in. And so this is a good time to really get the head stuffed to whichever firmness that you would like, and then start letting it kind of go up into the body part, and so that has a little more firmness. So you'll just pack in as much or as little stuffing as you want, depending on how squishy you want to make your little amigurumi. And again, I really try to work around the safety eyes to make sure that that gets really filled out. And so once you get your head stuffed and where it's coming up to the body, we'll go ahead and start on round 22, which will be a decrease round from 27 stitches down to 18. And we will still have time to keep filling as we go, but this will give us a good base to start with. So let's start on round 22, where we'll decrease from 27 stitches down to 18. And what we'll do is we'll just do our invisible decrease, and then a single crochet. And that's just the pattern that we're going to work on all the way around. And again, if you have your own way of decreasing, go right ahead. We just want to get from 27 stitches down to 18. And then the rest of the finishing up on the body goes pretty quick because we're down to such a minimal amount of stitches. Okay, so again, just doing my invisible decrease, followed by the single crochet. And I hope so far that the pattern that we're doing is following along okay, where you're able to understand all the things that I'm trying to explain. Okay, so we've got our, whoops, decrease, single crochet, final, there we go, get in there, final decrease, and our, goodness, get down there, our final single crochet. And now we're down to 18 stitches. And as we go ahead and just add stuffing as you feel is needed. And then what we'll do next is we're going to do a decrease round in round 23 from 18 stitches down to 12. Here we are on round 23, and we're going to decrease from 18 stitches down to 12. And it is the exact same pattern as we did in the last, whoops, it's the last, oh my goodness, here we go, let's try this again. It's the exact same pattern as it was in the last round, where we're going to just do a decrease followed by a single crochet. And that'll get us from 18 stitches down to 12. Okay. It always gets a little harder. The smaller area you have to work with on camera, the harder it is to seem to do this as far as working with the smaller section. When you're just sitting in your comfortable chair crocheting, it's I don't make quite as many goof ups. So let's just get these last stitches for our round all done. Whoops. And so we've got our decrease, pop the stitch marker out, and our final crochet. Okay, and again what we'll do is we'll just have you add a little more stuffing, and then we're going to do basically our final decrease round for the body, and we'll kind of just keep stuffing as we go. We are on our final round, which is round 24 of the body, and what we're going to do is we are going to decrease from 12 stitches down to 6. What I'm going to have us do is do 3 decreases in a row, give us one more chance to really get some stuffing in there if we still think we need it, and then we'll decrease the final 3 times in a row. And then you still have a chance to get some stuffing in, but it gets a little harder because the opening is so small. But let's start off with 3 decreases in a row. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. And I'll just kind of pull our yarn a little bit, and this gives us a chance to just give that one last little bit of stuffing in there if we still think we need it. And so I'm just going to take my handle of my crochet hook and just add a little more in there, and that should be good for me. I think I'm happy with that. And so once you're happy with how much yarn you have in there, we'll do 3 more decreases in a row, and that'll get us down to 6 stitches from 12. So there's 1, 2, oops, let me get that one a little bit better, and 3. And what I'll do is I'll finish off by just placing a slip stitch in the next stitch. I'm going to cut off a length of tail for sewing, and as you can see there is a little gap left if you do want to try to get just a little more stuffing in, but I'm going to leave mine as is. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my yarn needle and tail, and I close my amigurumis up by coming through the back and forward through the front loop only. So I've come in through there, then I'll come in the next stitch the same way, and I'm just going to do this for all 6 stitches. So there's 4, 5, and lastly, if I can get in there, there should be 6. And I'll just give that a really firm tug, and then I'll just take my needle and just kind of go in through the center and just weave it in and out a few times just to secure everything in place. And then what I like to do is kind of have it just be flat on the very bottom. That way when it's all said and done, it sits nicely. So there we go. We are all set, and I'm going to just cut this little tail off, and we have got the body done. So we've all done a great job, and thank you for sticking with me through this with the color changes. But we've got the body all taken care of, and now let's start working on, we're first going to start working on the ears, tail, and get those color changes out of the way, and then we just have the arms and legs, and those work up really quick and simple. So let's go ahead and get our 2 colors of green ready, and we'll start on the ears. So we are ready to work on the ears, and these are only 5 rounds long, and only 12 stitches are the most that we're going to be crocheting into those rounds. So things move pretty quick, and we're going to be starting off with our light green, or lighter of the 2 greens, and we're going to start off with our magic ring. Okay, we've got our magic ring, and let's go ahead and put 4 single crochets into our magic ring for round 1. So we'll close this up, and we can always pull it tighter after the next round, but that way, if we leave it not too tight, it's easier to get into that first stitch for round 2. So in round 2, we're going to increase from 4 stitches to 6, and then we're also going to get ready for a color change. All right, let's get ready for round 2, and what we're going to do is we're going to have our darker green yarn on standby, and in our first stitch, we're going to do an increase. In our second stitch, we're going to do a single crochet. And now I'm going to lay my dark green yarn across, and I'm just going to do an increase over it. So just kind of secured in place. So there's an increase in stitch number 3. And then in stitch number 4, I'm just going to do a single crochet, but I'm also going to do my color change. So we're going to go in to the 4th stitch. I'm going to pull through the green and then finish off the stitch with the dark green yarn. And so we now have round 2 completed, and we've increased from we increased from 4 single crochet to 6 single crochet in round 2. We're going to start on round 3, which will be increasing from 6 stitches to 9, and then changing back to our light green yarn. So don't cut off your light green yarn, just let it hang here, and we'll complete row 3 together, and we'll go through all the steps. We're ready for round 3, and we're going to work with our dark green yarn to start off with, and we're going to do an increase in our first stitch. So we've got 1, 2. We're going to do a single crochet in the second, an increase in our third stitch, kind of just bend everything in the right direction. We'll do a single crochet in the next. We'll do our increase, and then what we're going to do is in our 6th stitch, we're going to go ahead and do our color change. And so what we'll do is we'll just start off with the dark green and finish with the light green. And then we are all done with our dark green color. That's the only color change we're doing for the ears. So we can actually just go ahead and snip that off, and then I'll just crochet over the tail to kind of secure everything in place in our next round. And so in our next round, which will be round 4, we're going to increase from 9 stitches to 12. So we are on round 4 of our ears, and we're going to do an increase from 9 stitches to 12, and we're now back onto our lighter green yarn. And our pattern will be to do an increase in our first stitch, and what I'm going to do is get my stitch marker popped in there so I make sure I'm not losing track of everything. So we've got an increase in our first stitch, and then we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch and a single crochet in the third stitch. So again, we're going to go and have an increase and then follow that up with, and I'm just kind of crocheting over that tail too, a single crochet and a single crochet. Kind of make sure everything's kind of bending down. Get that tail tucked in. We've got our final increase with a single crochet and a single crochet. And there we go. We are up to our 12 single crochet, and we can just pop the stitch marker in, and we've got that all done. And then what we're going to do for round 5 is just single crochet 1 in each stitch around. We're on round 5 of our ear, which is the last round, and all we're going to do is just place 1 single crochet in each stitch. So this will work up really quick, and again, this is our last round. So once we're done with this, the ear will be all done, and it's just 1 single crochet in each stitch. And we don't have to stuff the ear. We're just going to kind of fold it when we place it onto the head of the cat. And so any little tails though that you have, you can just tuck those up into the ear. That won't be a problem. So there we go. We have got our final stitch, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch to finish everything off. And I'm just going to leave kind of a longer tail to sew onto the head. I'll just pull out my hook, and so with these tails, it's no big deal. You can either cut them, or I just usually stuff them right up in there, and then I fold it so that the tail is on the edge. So just like that. And then what I'll have you do is I will have you go back and complete a second ear, and then once we get that completed, we'll set those aside and we'll start on the tail. And the tail's not anything hard either. There's actually really no increases or decreases or anything. It's the 5 stitches all the way around, all the way through. There's just the color change again. But we'll get through that together. So go ahead and make your second ear, and then we'll meet back up here and keep working on the little cat together. So we've got our 2 ears made, and we're going to go ahead and set them to the side. And this is where we're going to need all 3 colors again. But we're going to start off with our light green yarn for our tail. And what we're going to do is we're going to just make our magic ring. And we are going to single crochet 5 into our magic ring. And there's 4 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. And so we'll just pull that closed, and that is round 1. What we're going to do is we are going to go through, it's a total of 11 rounds for the tail, but we're going to go through and we're going to work on round 2, which will be the 5 single crochet and a color change. So we'll go ahead and get ready for round 2. Okay, we're ready for round 2, which is 5 single crochet and a color change. So what we'll do is we will crochet 1, 2. I'm going to lay my dark green yarn over so I can crochet over it, and that'll be 3. And I know it's a little hard to see because there's not a lot of room. Okay, so we've got 3. There's 4. Kind of just fold everything in the direction it's supposed to go. And then in 5, we'll start off with our green, lighter green. Oops, sorry about the camera. We'll start off with our lighter green, and we're going to pull through with the darker green. And that gets us all set for round 2. We're going to leave our lighter green just kind of hanging there, because what we're going to do in round 3 is we're going to single crochet all the way around, just 1 single crochet with the dark green, but at the very end of round 3 we're going to switch back to our light green, but then we'll be all done with our dark green. So let's work through round 3 together. So we're on to round 3, where we're going to single crochet 1 in each stitch, and we've got our darker green. So here is 1. And you may notice that things try to flip up in the wrong direction. You know, even if you have to just kind of push it back down after each stitch, no problem. So there we go. There's 3, 4, and I'm going to pop out my stitch marker and do the color change back to the light green. So we're going to go in, grab up our dark green, and follow through with our lighter green. And now we are all done with our dark green. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off a tail, and then in my next round I'll just crochet over it to hold everything in place. And so we are done with round 3. We're back onto our light green, and we're ready to start off with row 4. All right, let's get started with row 4, and what we're going to do is we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch, and I am going to crochet over this tail. So we've got 1. Gosh, there's a lot going on. After this, we can stuff all these little ends into the bottom of the tail and kind of use it for stuffing. There's 2. Three, and oh my goodness, this is a mess. 4, and our last one, 5. And let's go ahead and kind of pull our hook out and take all of this crazy mess and just kind of stuff it into the bottom of the tail for some extra stuffing. I'm just going to use my scissors. They're kind of sharp, so I gotta be careful. I'm actually going to even cut off that little tail because that's just more than I need. And let's just go ahead and get this stuffed in there. And that way it's out of the way and everything's so much easier to see, because after this next round we're going to be switching to pink, but then we're done with color changes for the tail. In fact, we are done with color changes altogether after that. So yeah, let's just keep pushing through. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back and do, let's see, we're on round, we're we're going to start round 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start round 5, and at the end of round 5 we'll do a color change to pink and get that all finished. We are on round 5 and our last color change. So we're going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. So there's 1, and it should be a little bit easier now that all those annoying tails are out of our way. 2, and actually what we're going to do, I'm going to actually stop at 2. I'm going to lay my tail of my pink across so I can single crochet over it. So we're going to go 3, 4, pop out the stitch marker, and then switch to pink in our final stitch. Okay, we are now on to pink, and we are going to crochet 5 rows in pink, just a single crochet 1 in each stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the green. We're all done with that. I'm going to take the pink and I'm going to stuff that out of our way. In fact, I'm going to cut off some of it. We don't need quite that much. And finish getting that stuff in there out of the way. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back for rounds 6 through 11 and get you started on that, and crochet over this tail to secure everything in place, and that's all it's going to take for our tail. Here we are on rounds 6 through 11. I'm crocheting over that last little bit of green tail I have left to hold everything together, and I'm going to actually pop my stitch marker out because we're just kind of going in just circles, but there's only 5 stitches. So what we're going to do is have you go through rows, let's see, 7 through 11 on your own. It's just 5 stitches for those 4 rows, and when you're all done, just do a slip stitch and leave a tail for sewing, and that is all that it's going to take for the tail to be all done. And you can just kind of stuff some more of this yarn in here and use it as free stuffing. And then once you're all done, we'll go ahead and start working on the arms and legs. So I'm at the end of my rows, and I'm just going to do a slip stitch and cut off a tail for sewing. And now you can add stuffing into your tail if you want to, just to give it a little fuller look. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm taking all these leftover little scraps of yarn that I've been cutting off as we go, and just kind of stuffing it in there and using that instead, because it really doesn't take a whole lot and it's just kind of easier to do. And that way it also the color matches, so you don't really see any stuffing going through any of the stitches. It all just kind of is the same color. So I'm just going to do that for stuffing for me, but that's all you got to do for the tail. And then we'll go ahead and start with the arms and legs, and after all these color changes, those will feel like a walk in the park. So we are ready to start with the arms, and there are only 3 rounds for the arms. And then the first round is going to start off with our magic ring, and we are going to single crochet 4 into our magic ring. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll go ahead and pull that, and then in round 2, what we're going to do is we're just going to increase in each of these stitches. So let's just keep going. So if I can get into that first stitch, we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we'll just go ahead and pull this a little tighter to really close up that little gap. And in our final round, all we're going to do is we're just going to single crochet 1 in each stitch. So just a total of 8. Probably don't even need my stitch marker, just that's a habit. Okay, so we've got 1, and I'm going to just go over my tail. 2, 3, 4, kind of fold this down, it's trying to go in the wrong direction. We'll do 5, 6, 7, pop the stitch marker out, and 8. And I'm going to slip stitch into our next stitch to fasten off. I'll just cut a tail off for sewing. Pull out my hook. I'm just going to take this tail and kind of stuff it in there for some free stuffing for the little arm, and that's all it takes. What I'll do is I'll have you go back, make one more, and then we will work on the legs, which are equally as easy. So I'll meet you back after the second arm is done. Okay, we've got our 2 arms done. Now let's go ahead and do the legs, and it's pretty close to the same pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our magic ring, and this time we're going to go ahead and single crochet 5 into our magic ring. So there's 3, 4, and 5. Pull, and in round 2 we're going to increase to 10. So we'll just do 2 single crochets in each stitch. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We'll go ahead and give this a little pull to really close everything up. And what we'll do is we will just single crochet 1 in each of those 10 stitches. And I'm going to crochet over my tail one more time. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, kind of bend everything, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, followed by a slip stitch. And let me get that slip stitch a little bit better. There we go. I will cut off a length of tail for sewing. Pull out my hook, just kind of get everything tugged, kind of tightened, and then I'm just going to stick that right in there to use as some stuffing. And there we go. That's what we do for the leg. So I'll have you make one more leg, and then we're ready to start putting things together. So we have got all the pieces taken care of, and now we're ready to start putting our little guy together. And so I'm going to start with showing you where I put the arms. Now I put mine kind of far out to the side, but if you wanted to bring them in a little closer, wherever you want the arms to be. But where I did it was I started sewing mine right on the seam between the neck and the body. And so that's where I put mine, and then I just crocheted around. Now I did stop a little bit before the end to push in any stuffing if I thought it needed more than just the extra yarn I had in there. But I'll go through the first arm with you, and then I'll have you put on the second arm. So let's go ahead and grab our yarn needle and our first arm, and we'll go ahead and get that put on. There we go. And I'm going to grab my little body, and again it is right here on this little seam that I start sewing on my arm. And you may have a better way of sewing the parts on, but I'll just kind of go through how I do it. Let's see, so I'm going to kind of keep everything the same as I did last time. So we'll go through, and I will come up and just kind of get that on there up close to the body, and then I will come up through the front loop only of these stitches on the arm. So I'll come up through there, and then I will go down through the front loop of the next stitch next to it, and then sew into the body. And that's just how I put mine. So just come up through the front loop and down the next front loop, and into the body. And then I'll just stop a couple stitches right before the end just to see if I want to add any stuffing. Sometimes I need it, sometimes not. It just depends on how much of a tail I had left when I made my magic ring. So we'll just go through. And I'm going to kind of look and see, yeah, I could use just a tiny bit more stuffing. So I'm just going to kind of ball it up in my fingers, just kind of a small piece. And then I'll just kind of take it and take the end of my crochet hook and just kind of work the stuffing in. Try to get it, kind of work it in so none of the little fibers are still sticking out. And that should do it. So then I'll just go ahead and keep on with my pattern all the way around. And that's how I go ahead and just sew on the arms. The legs are pretty much the same way, but I'll go through the first leg with you as well. So once I get all the way around, I'll just take my needle and just go through the body a few times. Just make sure everything's secure, and then just trim off the yarn. If you have a little tail that kind of sticks out, you can kind of just squeeze the body and it'll kind of put it, or kind of just draw it right back into the body and you don't even see it. So that is the first arm. If you want to go ahead and put on your second arm, and then we'll meet back up and put on the first of the legs. We have got our arms attached and we're ready to start on the legs. And how I like to do the legs for myself is my legs kind of fall right on the curve. So I have the bottom where the tail starts, and I start that down here on the bottom, and then just kind of work my way around. So it kind of goes up from the bottom up to the front and then back around. And I put those a little bit closer together, just right in the front with just a couple stitches in between. And that's how I worked mine, but again, there's no wrong way to add yours on, so wherever you'd like, go ahead and place that. But I'll show you how I start putting mine on. So I usually come in right about, let's put this back up here and just make sure. It's right about there. So right about here. Let me move this out of the way. Just a couple rows onto the bottom, and I'll just pull that tight. And again, I'm just going to come up through that front loop, if I can get in there, come down through the front loop of the next one, just kind of make sure is that just the direction I want everything, looks like it, and just kind of go into the body, come up and do that all over again. And again, I will leave a gap towards the end just to make sure if I need to add some stuffing in if there's not enough from the yarn. But it's a pretty simple process. Same for the arms, and it will be the same for the tail. But with the tail already being stuffed, we can just continue all the way around. The ears are just a little bit different, but I'll show you how I do those as well. So, okay, so just keep sewing around and getting your leg on, adding stuffing if you need it, and then go ahead and put your second leg on. And then once we're done, we will meet up and we'll start working on the ears. And then lastly, we'll add on the tail. So I will meet you back here after we've got both legs put on. We are ready to start on the ears, and where I like to place mine is I start right from the very center, and then from that center the next round over between the first round and the second round is where I bring up the yarn to start sewing it, and then I meet up about, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows down, and I'll show you how I place my ears so I can get them just right. So we'll take our yarn, which I got on my yarn needle, and we will grab up our body. And so I'm going to start right here. I'm going to come down, I'm going to place the ear and kind of get an idea of just about where it falls. And I'm seeing it fall right along this line. So I am going to bring, and I'm sure there's a much easier way to do this, but I'm going to bring my yarn through there and pull tight. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my yarn up through the ear and down and just kind of hold it right there, and that just kind of keeps everything nice and secure. And then I could just do the same sewing technique all the way around. And since I don't have to worry about any stuffing, it's just something you just keep going right around to the end. But that's how I get my ear on and secure, and just get it ready to start sewing without having to use any pins. So just go ahead and just come through just the same motion through the front loops, and then go through the body. And that's all that it takes to get the ears placed onto the body. It's just the starting off that's a little different. But I wanted to show you how I do it so I can really just line my ears up so they fall in just the right spot. And then you can just kind of push the ear in and kind of round it as you're sewing, just to give it that curved in look. So go ahead and finish sewing on this ear, and then go ahead and place your ear. But I also wanted to show you, before you do get your ears placed, you know, this is how it looks if they're just sitting straight up. But if you wanted to go for more of a, let's say, an angry look, you can try to sew it so it would lay a little more flat. And then once you're ready to do details, you could kind of give angry eyebrows coming down if you wanted to give your little cat a little different look. I'm just going to stick with the straight up ears, but there are other options. If you wanted to kind of give them that little floppy ear type look, you could do that too. But whatever you want to do with your ears, I just kind of want to give you a starting point of how I went ahead and placed mine. Okay, let's get that final body part placed, and that'll be right here on the butt. And where I like to place the tail is just as it's coming from the bottom up towards the back. Just kind of find that center spot, and probably, I think I'll come in right about here. Let's see how that looks. So let's pull that on and just kind of take a look. Yep, I think I'll be happy with that. And again, we've just got a few stitches to go through, so this will go on really quick, and we will have our tail placed on, and we're ready for the final touches, which are the details, and that just gives us that finished look, and we'll be all set with our little watermelon cat. And the past couple days here in Minnesota have just been really warm and humid, and just all around feels like summer. And one of the best parts about summer for me is the watermelon and having it be in season, and it's just my favorite fruit. So I am really excited after winter, after the past year. I'm just ready. Let's have a fun change up of our summer, and I thought, what a cute way of doing that with this little watermelon cat that I am just, poor thing, I'm just having a heck of a time sewing on this tail. After these tutorials, I'm just kind of ready. There we go. So got that tail on. Let me guess, it went sideways. Let's just scooch you over a little. Close enough. Okay. I can always go back. Oh, and you know what? I didn't even grab it. Oh, we're just talking about weather and not paying attention to what I'm doing. So let's go ahead and just kind of pull that over. Can you tell I am kind of ready to finish up on this kitty. Okay, so we've got the tail on, and we'll just weave this through, and then what we'll do is we will get our scrap of black, and what we're going to do is we are going to start off with the nose, add some whiskers, and then finish up with the little black spots that we're putting on to kind of give the impression of seeds. So I cut a length of black, and what we're going to do is we're going to work on the nose, and it doesn't take a whole lot, so let's go ahead and get that started. We'll just get our yarn on there, and then what I do is I come up through the top and then just come down where the eyes are at the bottom. That's where I start. That row is where I start the nose, and I try to just kind of place it right in the center. So let's grab this little guy up, and we'll come down, and every time you make one, it's always just a little bit different than the last one. So I think this is looking about right, and so just leave a little bit up there. And then I'll come over, so we've got, that's where we came in, we'll skip a stitch, and then we'll come in right here, and I'm going to come back out one row down and right in the middle of between. And again, it's not always perfect because of, you know, the way things get crocheted, but that's kind of how I'm going to just kind of try to pull it all together. And then I'm just pretty much trying to make it into a triangle. So I'll come up, back up into where we had started, come back through, and then just kind of keep working it through to try to fill in that area. So now I'll just kind of come up underneath and just keep coming down through the bottom. It's not a perfect situation, and again, let me tell you, when it comes to putting on the pieces or sewing on the details, I am not the best. So I am sure you have a much better way of doing this and going through and just doing this so much neater than I do. But I think that'll kind of cover the nose, or at least give you an idea as far as you know, making it work. And it just comes out like a little triangle. And then what I'll do is just weave this tail a few times. So there's that, and then come out one more time and just give that a little trim, squeeze that in so it kind of disappears. And I'll do the same for this tail, just so I don't have to worry about that end starting to come out. So we'll just kind of go in a couple times. I mean, I have very long, but there we go. And we'll give that a little trim. Okay, so just kind of give that a squeeze and it pops right back in there and you can't even see it. We have a very wonky but lovable nose. And now I'm going to show you how I put on the little whiskers. Okay, we'll come back with that next. So we're ready to do the whiskers, and how I did them was I took my yarn, and this is for where it's got the four all wrapped together. And what I did is I just separated them into 4 strands. We only need a couple of them, so we'll just work with 2, because these should be long enough to give us the 3 whiskers. One of them will do 3 whiskers on each side. So we just take them. Now it is kind of, depending on your yarn, it is kind of like easy to pull it a little too hard and it pulls apart. So we'll just be gentle, and then we'll just stick that on there. And what I did is, again, I came up through the top to just kind of bring it through, and I came out here, and then I went up, came back down through here, and then came back down and here. And I'll walk you through the steps of how I did that, but it doesn't take a whole lot. And then let's look and see where I did this. I also, on the row that I started the nose, is where I started the whiskers. And so just kind of, there's like one little space in between the eye and where I started them. And I hope this is all making sense. So we will come down, and again, will it be exactly where? I don't know. It looks like where I'm going to end up is coming out is right at the very corner of the eye, but that's okay. So we'll leave enough tail up here to kind of weave in the top, and what we'll do is we'll come straight across, and we'll start with that whisker, and that gives us a good spot to start. And then we'll go diagonally up, just kind of one little stitch, and we'll come down, and there's that whisker, and then we'll just come right down here, and that should be all we need. So let's bring that up here and pull, and then we got our 3 little whiskers. We kind of straighten them a little bit, but we got our 3 little whiskers on, and we'll just do what we did before, just kind of weave these in just to kind of secure everything. And I will have you go through and place on your whiskers however you want, or if you don't want them, you don't have to have them. This is your kitty. You are in charge. All right. So that's all it took for the whiskers. And if you just wanted to do, just straight lines across, anything you want to do will work perfect. So let's get our other set of whiskers on, and then we will meet back and start putting little seeds on. I've got my black yarn, just a full piece of yarn, kind of a little bit longer, and then that's what we're going to use to make our little seeds. I just did on the belly, but you could go all the way around if you wanted to, but I just kind of did it a simple little, just random spots here on the belly. And the way I did that is by coming up through the bottom, and then just kind of coming up wherever you want. This is purely random, but I do leave, well, I do have way too much. We'll just snip a little bit off. So what I'm doing is I'll just, where I come up, I'll just go down, right underneath or to the side, whichever way, because, with seeds, they're just wherever they want to be. So you can't do this wrong at all. So there's 1 seed, and there's 2, and you can do as few or as many as you want. And I think I'll make this one kind of come over here, kind of diagonal. Maybe put this one, oops, kind of get over there, Kind of do that one. Maybe even have one just going just straight across instead of up and down. And we'll put one over here by the arms and legs. And so this is just kind of wherever you think a seed will look good, go ahead and place one there. And we are pretty much all done. This is all you have left to do. And then you have your very own little watermelon cat. And I don't know, I just think these are a fun way to start thinking about summer and enjoying the weather. And what a fun little gift to give. Let's say if you want to bring something for someone at a 4th of July party or for Memorial Day get together. I know those are hard to have, you know, but it's getting better. And what a nice little gift to give somebody that you haven't got a chance to see in a while. But there we go. And that's kind of what mine looks like. Actually, I'm going to place one more. This was just one of those ideas that just kind of popped in my head when I was trying to think of a new pattern to have here on my channel. And I thought this one was something I didn't see all over already having tutorials, or you know, a bunch of them already been made. So I thought it was kind of an original idea. So I'm going to go ahead and just weave this through a couple times and pull that. There we go. Give it a little squeeze. Pops right in there. And one thing I would really like is if you do make one, tag me on Instagram. I would love to see pictures of, you know, things that you've made, not only from this video, but from any of my tutorials. That would just mean so much to me, because I always wonder, you know, at the end, did the instructions come out clear? Were you able to complete the project? And so there we go. We have our two little kitties. And I hope that you were able to make one. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you're able to fill your whole house with little watermelon cats just to enjoy the oncoming warm weather and the nice change in seasons. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you can show me what you made. Thanks. Bye.